My name is Melissa, and I'm your host. Okay, so I had a few episodes written up that I've been working on for a couple weeks because I haven't had the time to record. So I was like, okay, let me at least make some episodes. But now so much seems to have changed that I feel like the previous episodes are kind of irrelevant. If you follow me on Twitter, you know that I have been in the middle of potentially changing jobs. So I've been really distracted with my full-time position. And unfortunately, I had to put the podcast on the side for a little bit. But I'm happy to report I did finally get the new job. So I get to give my notice tomorrow morning, and I'm super excited. But I just wanted to share something kind of on the personal side. I went to a Jason Aldean concert on Friday, and it was super fun. He had an opener. His name is Hardy. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of him or if any of you listen to country music, but he was so amazing. It was so pro-America. The crowd was chanting USA 1,000 times. It was just so nice being around people who loved this country and who respected the fact that we have such a privilege to live here. And I think a lot of times we don't realize how lucky we are to be from the greatest country in the world, but they made it so apparent, and everybody cheering back at them with the red, white, and blue lights going off. It was just so empowering. And it just made me want to get back to my podcast and talk about how much I love this country, even though I complain about a lot of things going on. I hope it doesn't ever get misconstrued that I love this country and I love being an American, and I am so damn proud to be an American. And I hope that we get to a point in this nation again where everybody is just as proud as we are. The big fight going on in the world is because we love our freedom and we don't want it being taken away. And in the past couple weeks, things have become so insane that I think a lot of Americans are fearing that our freedoms are being taken from us, rightfully so. The push for vaccines is now completely authoritarian with no light at the end of the tunnel. We're seeing the full force of government approaching, and they will not stop until they have completed their agenda. I seem to remember a couple weeks ago when people were calling me a conspiracy theorist when I stated that the vaccine mandates were absolutely coming to America. I had a heated conversation with my boss about this, actually. It became so apparent to me in listening to him argue that this is America and it could never happen, that we are so damn privileged as a nation. We have this belief that because we are Americans, we are just untouchable, and we can never see ourselves heading into a downward spiral of socialism and communism that other countries have found themselves. We truly believe that our Constitution will protect us, and it should. But what happens when the very people that are meant to uphold that Constitution decide it no longer matters? And what happens when the people you have trusted to protect you and your family no longer do? What about when your own medical teams have been paid by a deep state to push a vaccine on you that they know causes adverse side effects and little to no protection from the virus? Communism, socialism, that's what happens. One world government, a one world control. We will be peasants. We will own nothing and we will like it. It is no coincidence that BlackRock founders are serving in the Biden administration. It is no coincidence that the deep state has even deeper pockets and connections. It's no coincidence that Trump was only in the way. He told us directly, they are not after me, they are after you. I am just standing in their way. She was never supposed to lose. We hear that all the time, right? She was never, ever supposed to lose. It wasn't a part of their plan. I think COVID would have been released during her administration to usher in a new world order. They just had to wait another 3 years for Trump to finish up his term so they could cheat in the national election, get Biden into office, and make sure they got away with it. While talking to my boss about all of the above, he told me that I was absolutely insane. As we're discussing this, I have Newsmax on my television in my office, and you see the new mask guidance coming out, the new vaccine passport push coming out. So he comes in a couple days later and he goes, hey, I actually think you might be right. I said, I know I'm right. I've been right in my predictions all along. We all have. We are the majority in this. And I know it is so easy to feel like we are the minority. I get it all the time. People say, I really feel like we're alone in this, and we're not. There are way more people that are awake than we realize. And we have some who are still sleeping without a doubt. But we definitely have at least more partially awake people than completely asleep. It's very hard to keep people in the dark in this day and age. And I think that a lot more people are starting to sway away from CNN and mainstream media and starting to look for information on their own. And they're starting to see the hypocrisy and what's going on. The pandemic is needed, right? The only way they can continue to pass their bills and massive spending efforts is through a pandemic. The only way to force Americans inside their homes and have them be dependent on the government is to continue a pandemic. Each time one variant is no longer feared, they're just going to make another one. As far as I know, there is no PCR test that can detect the difference between the flu and COVID-19, let alone the Alpha versus Delta strains. So how do we know the Delta variant even exists? If we can't test for it, how do we know people have it? These are the questions that I ask people when we talk about what's going on in the world, and they never, ever have an answer for me. They always become uncomfortable because they know it's a legitimate question that has no solid answer. And without a solid answer, you can't support the mitigation efforts. And without the pandemic, the government can't tear us apart. They can't spend money on erroneous programs. They can't continue to control elections with mail-in ballots. It's all a sham. If everyone would just ask the questions, they would arrive at the very, very simple answer. The conspiracy theorists were right. We will continue to be right. The facts are on our side. We will watch America continue to fall. We are definitely reaching a precipice right now. We're reaching the time where the American people will no longer sit idly by as you lock us down again. And there are two options, right? You either resist or you comply. I pray that you choose resist. I pray that we always resist a government that is doing everything for themselves and nothing for you. A government takes, but they never give. You should never give your freedoms away willingly, ever. You need to resist. You need to wake your families up, friends, coworkers, whatever you have to do. This is it, folks. We're at the end. What side of history do you want to be on? I know this episode is a little bit short compared to my other episodes, but I really wanted to just get my thoughts out there for you. Again, it's been a while, and I know that, and I'm sorry. I'm going to take some time off in between my current job and my new job to kind of reset my brain a little bit. I am going to a conservative company. They are very openly conservative in their beliefs, which is very nice. So I'm really looking forward to that next chapter, and I'm looking forward to being in a better place where I can get more episodes out and I can get a little bit more active on Twitter again. Again, my current job was just sucking up so much of my time and my mental capacity that I just could not get the content out there. Even though it was written, I couldn't get it recorded. So again, I'm so sorry. Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of The M Perspective. You can find us on Twitter at M Perspective Pod, and you can listen to us anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and so forth.